Oh, hey there. So, as usual, I'm going to have a quick look at UFC 264. Obviously, that happened at the weekend. If you're an MMA fan, you obviously already know that. I'm going to be reviewing all of my bets. Some of them went all right, some of them went not so well, as is usually the case. And I'm going to be looking at some of the MMA news that's come to us throughout the week. So, I was looking at how I could kind of sum up UFC 264, and one thing just kind of came into my mind. It was one of my favourite westerns of all time. So, I present to you UFC 264. The good, the bad, and the ugly. Let's start with the good. Best foot forward, all that, yeah? So, Dricus du Plessis. As I gave him a cheeky shout out saying, keep your eye on that fella. I didn't break him down as one of my bets. I did place a bet on him by knockout, but it wasn't one of my official ones, so I'm not taking that as a win. All right, I'm not cheating, but it was one of the few that came off for me, so I'll take it as a private win, I guess. But yeah, anyway, he put South Africa on the map by planting his fist on that guy's face and knocking him spacco out. So, who's next? I mean, Khamzat Chimaev, he's already got a fight, unfortunately. Otherwise, I would have loved to have seen Khamzat Chimaev against Dricus du Plessis. That would be a great fight, but I think that's kind of wasted at this point in their careers. I mean, I think that they could do that later on when they're both bigger names and maybe even have a main event out of it. Brad Tavares looked very good. He looked very good recently. So, yeah, I think du Plessis against Brad Tavares. Yeah, that should be next. I think that's a decent matchup for both of them. Tavares has really looked sensational recently, so yeah, there's an upside for both of them if they win, and if they lose, on to the next. Ilia Topuria, he looked fantastic. He looked really great, and he's really showing that Ryan Hall, he really needs something more than Aminuri rolls. I don't know whether that's a jiu-jitsu move or sushi, if I'm totally honest. He needs to do more than just diving on his opponent's legs to try and get a heel hook if he's going to do anything in the UFC, and I was gutted because I had Hall by submission. I thought he might be able to sneak one out because it was +6, and I thought, that's a decent price. And yeah, but it can be as good a price as you want. If the bet doesn't come off, it's useless, isn't it? It's useless. But yeah, all the best to Ryan Hall. I'm sure he'll come back and hopefully add some more to his game. Sean O'Malley versus Chris Martino. Wow, what a way to kick off that card. That was definitely goes into the good column because what a great fight that was. Do you know what I mean? It was good for all concerned as well. Everyone's stock rose. I love those kind of fights. Do you know what I mean? O'Malley looked fantastic. He put on, it was a real showcase of his striking. Martino got to show how hard his face is. It was brilliant. And Martino, fair play to the kid. He's come from the regional circuits. He's getting paid a couple of grand a fight, like at most, and now he's come in there main card against Sugar Sean O'Malley on a main card on a McGregor fight, no less. And yeah, he got the fight of the night as well, so he got a 75 grand bonus. Fair play to the kid. Like, he took the fight on short notice. He got beaten up pretty badly, but he showed his real toughness, and there is a definite kind of upside to that kid's career. And yeah, really great stuff. Really good stuff to see. Brought out a great meme as well, which I will get to later. Tai Tuivasa knocked Greg Hardy into the dark realm, man, along with my bet. God damn it. You know what I mean? Knocked my bet into the floor along with Greg Hardy's face. But you know what? I was pretty happy with that. That was one of those bets where I did say in my video that, I will be supporting Tuivasa because he's just one of my favourite heavyweights. He's fantastic. I mean, he knocks people out. He drinks beer out of shoes. Someone snuck some hot sauce into his shoe, though, which I don't want to put that into the good column. He took it well, but, I mean, it didn't look like he was aware of it. And then after he finished drinking it, he was like, whoa. And he even said in, an interview, don't ever do a Dustin's hot sauce shoey because it's disgusting. And it looked it, Joey, to be fair. But, yeah, great performance from him. Who's next for Tuivasa? Big Ben Rothwell hasn't got a fight at the moment. Put those two in an octagon together. You could even make that a fight night main event. Easily. Big Ben Rothwell's a big enough name, and Tai Tuivasa is certainly a big enough name. They're both big enough blokes. Put them together. Yeah. Stick them in the cage. Let's see who comes out on top. And then we've got Dustin Poirier, the man of the hour. Wow, he looked fantastic in that first round. He really did. I mean, he was putting a beating on Conor, I thought. And as well as that, you know, he came off just looking like a really lovely guy. But let's be fair, that's not difficult. I think you could have put Jeffrey Dahmer in there opposite Conor McGregor on Saturday night, and he'd have come across looking like a really likeable guy in comparison, because Conor McGregor was just coming off as an absolute scumbag, wasn't he? But no need to do any matchmaking for that. We know what's next for Dustin Poirier. Charles Oliveira, and he's opened as a favourite for Charles Oliveira as well. I'll get to that later. That was in the news. But yeah, so let's move on to the bad. Now, I don't like saying the bad, but it was pretty bad. It was Thompson versus Burns. It was just a bit disappointing. I'm not going to lie. No, fair play to Gilbert Burns. He did everything that he had to do. But, I mean, I just felt like there wasn't really much urgency from Thompson. Considering where he is in his career and he wants to try and make a run at the title, I expected to see more urgency. But then again, that isn't really his style. Do you know what I mean? He's always been the karate point fighting kind of guy, and that doesn't necessarily lend to kind of try pushing the action, and Gilbert Burns did everything that he needed to do. That doesn't change the fact that it was probably one of the only bad fights on what was otherwise a very, very good card. So I've stuck that in the bad column. So let's now move on to the ugly. Conor McGregor. I mean, what I'm referring to here is not the ugly leg break, because it was ugly. That was nasty. It's not his performance. Do you know what I mean? At the end of the day, a fight's a fight. And Poirier was putting it on him, though, and I'll get to that in a moment, because the thing is, it was a 10-8 round, I thought, and I think two of the judges thought so as well. I might be wrong there. At least one of the judges thought it was a 10-8 round as well. But either way, look, that first round, it was a mauling. It was. And I'll get to this in a second, because that's an important point, actually. But what I'm really referring to as ugly was how Conor behaved after the fight. Now, don't get me wrong, fair play to him for being able to do that with a broken leg and kind of sell the next fight. Because the problem that we have here as the audience, as people who are outside of the loop, because I'm outside of the loop, I'm not going to pretend I've got insider knowledge or anything like that. We just don't know if it's an act or not, do we? We're all kind of, it's all hyperbole. It's all kind of, is it an act or isn't it? How much of it is selling fights? How much of it is Conor being an absolute scumbag? Like, we just don't know. It might be that it is all an act. And if it is all an act, then great for him and great for Dustin. They're selling a potential fight down the line. It will probably mean that Conor McGregor gets like a title fight. Because let's be fair, if Dustin beats Charles Oliveira, which he could do, I'm not saying that's a foregone conclusion, because Oliveira, like, he's fantastic. So that's not a foregone conclusion. But let's just say Dustin beats Charles Oliveira for the lightweight title, then they will definitely make the fourth fight between Dustin Poirier and Conor McGregor with the lightweight title on the line. They'll definitely do that. That will 100% happen if Dustin Poirier wins that belt, and probably even if he doesn't. So, yeah, at the end of the day, it's like, look, I enjoy Conor's trash talk. I always said that. I wanted the trash talking, brash, horrible Conor to come back, but it used to be fun, didn't it? When did it stop being fun? I don't know. It was somewhere around like the kind of almost semi like racist, drunk, desperate comments he was making at the press conference against Khabib. It kind of that was when I remember watching that thinking, I mean, none of what he's saying is funny. It's all just kind of desperate, kind of racist, and just it's not making him look particularly good. Do you know what I mean? At least his trash talk used to be clever. I'm sure it did. Or maybe the difference is that now he's not winning. Do you know what I mean? Maybe that's the biggest difference. And maybe that's making him become more desperate. And maybe it's just making it look more desperate. Because at the end of the day, like, trash talk is trash talk, and I'm a big proponent of trash talk. You can't have all the fighters being respectful and being all like, you know, bowing and la-di-da. This is entertainment first and foremost, and Conor entertains probably better than anybody. So, fair play to him. I've still got like masses of respect for the bloke, but it's kind of like the death threats to kind of Dustin's kids and that, or like, you know. It's not a great look, because the problem is like how much of it, the real problem is we don't know if it's an act or if it's not, all right? Because the thing is, a lot of people are saying that the comments about Dustin and his kids were over the line, but let's be fair, you know, there was a time when Mike Tyson was threatening to eat Lennox Lewis's children. Do you know what I mean? And that's and people put that down as trash talk, and people love Mike Tyson now, don't they? They love him. Do you know what I mean? You can't put a foot wrong. So I think, look, again, the problem is we just don't know if it's an act or not. Let's assume it is all an act. Great, that's perfect. Brilliant way to sell the fight. If we assume that it's not an act, I think we can probably presume that Conor wasn't a particularly nice person before he got famous, and now the only thing that has changed is his bank balance. I think that would be fair to say. If it isn't all just a complete kind of act, do you know what I mean? Which it very well may be. It very well may be. But we just don't know. One thing I would say for certain, though, is that if John Kavanagh, I think that it's possible that Conor McGregor should maybe move on from John Kavanagh. Now, it's not because of the performance. I'm not doubting that Kavanagh's not a great coach. He probably is. Do you know what I mean? He's probably fantastic. But my issue is Kavanagh's comments after the fight, because I found some of them a little bit concerning. But one in particular I'm going to bring up on screen now. Boop. So this is him after the fight. He's saying, "It was going fantastic. I thought he looked really, really good in there. I wasn't concerned at all. I was actually really, really happy. A few adjustments in between rounds, and I thought round 2 we were well on track to getting a finish." Now, I get it. The fight wasn't over. It wasn't over. It was a dominant round for Dustin Poirier. Make no mistake. But the fight wasn't over. Yes, your fighter can always come back. But let's be honest here, right? Because Conor McGregor is usually strongest in the first round, and he was very bad in that round. And my real problem here is the word he uses here. It was going fantastic. Really? Really? Look. If you honestly, did you look at that round for Conor and think that was going fantastic, right? Because if you thought that, then you're delusional. And if you didn't, then you're just being a yes man. Neither one of those things are a benefit to Conor at this point in his career. You know, it feels like it's just an odd thing to say. Do you know what I mean? You're either unable to assess what actually happened in that round, or you're lying to your fighter's face because you're a yes man. Again, either way, neither one is better than the other. And the fact he was sitting there saying that it was Joe Rogan's fault because that was funny, because he's like, yeah, look, hey, at the end of the day, those comments that Conor made after the fight, it's Joe Rogan's fault. He shouldn't have interviewed him. Do you know what I mean? He said all those things. The only reason he said all those horrible, nasty things was because of adrenaline, and because he had like a broken leg. Dude, have you seen Conor's Twitter account? Have you seen the kind of tweets that he fucking quickly deletes because his PR manager probably says, "Oh, dude, no, get rid of that." Do you know what I mean? The dude's a fucking dirtbag. At least on social media, he is a scumbag. If it's not a persona, then he's an absolute scumbag. If it is a persona, then the persona is that he's a scumbag. But either way, like, you can't sit there and say the only reason he said those things was because he was having adrenaline and stuff from the broken leg. He's shown time and time again with a very clear, well, probably not that clear of a head if he's just like got his phone in his hand, but either way, point stands. It probably wasn't just because he had adrenaline going through him because of the leg. He was probably well capable of saying those things anyway. Speaking of his leg, apparently he's got a titanium rod put through it now. And I did notice him saying that it's now unbreakable. Like, he's now got, like, the titanium rod is unbreakable. Now, is that legal to have? I don't know this. Could someone send in the comments if you know? Do you know what I mean? But like, if you've got like a titanium rod in your leg, isn't that like a bit of an unfair advantage in terms of kicking? If that leg is now unbreakable and it's made of titanium, or not, the leg's not made of titanium, but if it's got a substantial piece of titanium in there, is that going to be allowed? Do you know what I mean? Should that be allowed? Because surely, if you've got a titanium rod in your leg, that's going to be real nice for smashing people with head kicks. Just a thought. Just a thought. Anyway, that was my good and bad and ugly wrap-up of UFC 264. Let's move on to the news. Rafael Fiziev. He's one of my favourites, like, up-and-coming fighters. Go back and watch some of his fights, particularly his last one. It was a hella good knockout. He's going to be fighting Bobby Green at UFC 265, that's a decent fight. Now, honestly, I do think that's probably going to go into Fiziev's favour because, like, Bobby Green, he tends to get on the wrong end of decisions or get decisions, and, he's either on or off, but like Fiziev, when he's on, he's going to be kicking someone's head off. I think he might well kick Bobby Green's head off. So, got Dustin Poirier, as I mentioned. Dustin Poirier is opened as a favourite against Charles Oliveira in their title fight that will be coming up. And for me, I just think that Charles is being a bit overlooked here again. You know, he doesn't seem to get any respect, no matter who he beats at this stage. And I think that there is every chance that Oliveira could add another submission to his record fairly easily. No disrespect to Poirier, he's great, but you know, Charles Oliveira as an underdog, man, I would have a go on that all day. Let me know what you think. Let me know in the comments. Who are you going to be betting on in that fight? I'm interested to know, because it is a tough one to call. Do you know what I mean? Recency bias would go in the favour of Poirier, because obviously we've just seen him and he looked good. But, you know, Oliveira has looked fantastic as well. People forget. Don't sleep on him. Troll of the week. I've only got a couple here. I decided just to go with one kind of one. There are so many of them. I couldn't find the one that I really wanted that was hilarious. But I'm basically you've got Conor McGregor. He's ready for his next fight. Here we go. McGregor is back home, looking healthy, ready for the rematch. And what they've done is they photoshopped it so that his leg is at a 90-degree angle. Like, so it's like that's hilarious. Because the thing is like, yeah, look, you can make fun of his injury. It didn't seem to bother him too much on the night. He was still more than willing to talk enough trash on Dustin Poirier and his whole family. So I think, yeah, a couple of jokes at the expense of his leg might be kind of in order. I did see one, right? Honourable mention. I can't find it anywhere, but I did see it, and I didn't think to download it at the time and put it on here. But have you ever seen the Fast and the Furious film, the first one, where it's just like Paul Walker's like, "I nearly had you, man," and Vin Diesel's just like, Dominic Toretto's just like, "You never had me. You never had your car," right? And they did that, but like Poirier's standing there and Conor McGregor's on the floor and McGregor's pointing up at him. It just says, "I nearly had you, man," and it's got like as if Dustin's like turning back to him. It's like, "What, are you kidding me? You never had me. You never had your ankle," which I thought was very funny, but I didn't download it in time. I can't find it anywhere for the life of me. So yeah. Anyway, next one is Chris Moutinho. He put on a hell of a performance, and he was just like a zombie in front of O'Malley, just taking shots. And it was the referee had to step in the end, but like it wasn't like he was down. He wasn't like knocked out or anything. And this was hilarious because it involves a bit of South Park, a bit of Randy Marsh. Love a bit of Randy Marsh. What they've done is they've coloured his hair in green to match Moutinho's, and it's just like it's back when Randy Marsh is like fighting someone, like and they're trying to stop it, and he's just like, "Hey, I didn't hear no bell." It's like, "Hey, O'Malley, I didn't hear no bell." And it's just like, yeah, it just made me laugh. I just enjoyed it. Really, that's not for the audio. You have to actually see this one. So hopefully you follow a lot of the MMA forums that I follow as well. But yeah. With that being said, that it was all in all, like, it was a really good event. We've got some good fights coming up for the weekend. Islam Makhachev, Islam Makhachev, I think. He's going to be fighting Thiago Moises, I think, in the main event. Obviously, Makhachev has got a lot of hype behind him because Khabib has signed off on him already beating Oliveira and Dustin and everybody in that division. Maybe he will. I mean, he's another one of those very highly credentialed Russian wrestlers. I will be placing some bets on that. It's hard not to bet on Makhachev at this point, but I'm sure I'll find some way to make it a terrible bet. And there's going to be some other fights on the card as well. I'm going to have a look into it. It's obviously next to the star-studded card that was UFC 264. It's not got all of the names on there, but there are going to be some very, very good fights on there. And Rodolfo Vieira, I think, is fighting on there. I better check before I commit to that completely. But yeah, until next week, keep those odds long and those bets terrible. And don't forget to just like and subscribe and share, please, for the love of God. Just hit the share button. It costs nothing. Helps me out massively, and I really hope you enjoy listening to this as much as I enjoy rambling into the void. Anyways, see you later. Peace.